test, I think it's important to attach your DNA results to a DNA tree. So you can attach your results to your regular tree with all your ancestors and collateral ancestors. But if that's not something you want to do, you can create a tree with just your direct line. And I have a video that I will post the link to in the notes below where you can learn how to do a direct line tree. But in this case, that's not the type of tree I'm talking about for this video. Some people call the tree a quick and dirty tree or a quick and simple tree. I just call mine a DNA in common with tree. I have one for my maternal and my paternal side of the family because I have DNA mysteries on both sides of the family. My mysteries are that my mother's grandfather, William Beaton, was adopted. I call that the Beaton-Batten mystery. And on my dad's side, my grandfather has an unknown father. But you don't have to have these type of mysteries in your family. You just have to have a match that you don't know how they might fit in your tree. So rather than put them in your master tree, you put them here in your in common with tree and figure out how they fit before you put them into your master tree. Think of this tree as your DNA sandbox. It's a tree for those matches that aren't immediately evident as to how they fit into your tree. It's a tree that you can use to understand how you might fit in their tree and vice versa. So there are a few things you need to do when you create this DNA in common with tree. You can create your tree on whichever site you like. I'd suggest Ancestry or MyHeritage. In fact, I have mine on both. You can create free trees on Ancestry or MyHeritage, and on both sites you can make your tree private and unsearchable. Let me show you how. So first we're going to look at Ancestry and then we'll look at MyHeritage, as these are the two major DNA testing sites that offer not only DNA kits but also the ability to do research. Here we're at Ancestry. To create a tree, all you have to do is log into your Ancestry account and then click on the Tree tab. Then click on Create and Manage Trees. If you have any other trees, then all you have to do is scroll past those until you see Create a New Tree. So now we can start our new tree. So I've already put myself in. Then I can add a father. So I'm just going to put Dad because I just want to have a placeholder for that. And once I press Continue, then it will go directly into creating the name for the tree. So we can call this tree, I'm going to just call it In Common with Family DNA Tree. And you would want to make it so that it's private. And I'll show you in a second how you can make it unsearchable. So by unchecking this box, it will know all the information won't necessarily be visible. It will be searchable if we don't make a change. So we're going to press Save the Tree. And then if we go over here to the three dots and we go to Tree Settings, then we can go down, or we can go to the privacy, and it says that it's a private tree, but we want to make it also unsearchable. And this means that there was no way that anybody would be able to find this tree. Now, the only caveat that I have to say about that is if you add any photographs, then those photographs are visible in a way, because if you've ever looked at a photograph on Ancestry, you'll see that if somebody else saved it, that shows a little profile circle, and then if you click on that, it'll actually show the name of the tree that you've attached it to. So when you're using this DNA sandbox in common with tree to understand how you match your matches, I would suggest that you do not add any photographs to your tree. So now I've gone back to my in common with tree that I've created. And so this is where we begin. So when you're looking at your matches, often you might find a tree, not necessarily all the time. A lot of times you'll see people where they only have themselves and maybe their two parents, and because they have left their parents as being living, if they are living, or if they're not, you can leave them as being living, then there will be private. And this sometimes isn't very helpful, but sometimes you'll find a match who has a small tree. And so from here, when you're trying to understand how you might connect to a match, it's important then to do your own tree building for them. So I'm going to use my own tree as an example to just kind of walk you through how you can add your DNA matches tree information to this in common with tree. So imagine that this tree is a DNA matches tree, and maybe it's not even as big as this, but you get the idea. So first I would go to, the person's father if they're shown as being deceased, and you click and go to their profile. Now, if you go over here under the tools, you'll see save to a tree. So if we go to save to a tree, it actually took me right away to the at in common with tree, because that's the very top one on my list. So you may have to scroll down if you just have it called in common with DNA family tree, or you'll find it on your list. So because this is a brand new person, I've never put this person in that tree, I would just add it as a new person, and it brings across all the information. So then we save it. And so when we close it, you'll see that if I went back one screen, go back to the tree, I'm still in, we're imagining that this is my DNA matches tree. So again, and this is where you just have to kind of bear with me, you click on that same person and go to their profile, and now you're going to go save to a tree, and we're going to go to that same tree, but this time we're going to type in the person's name, and you'll see what it will actually do. So if you save it, then you can go scroll down, and of course that information is already there, but we're going to add now his wife and his father and mother, and there's the wife, and then you could also add any other children that they might have in the list. So normally when we talk about looking at other people's trees, we say don't copy that person's tree, because you should do your own research and make sure that all the information is correct. But when you're working with your DNA matches, it might not be as imperative to get all those records connected and make sure that everything is absolutely perfect. I mean, of course, you're going to look for any discrepancies in dates and years and things like that, but you're making what is called a quick and dirty tree or an in common with tree. You're trying to make it fast, so you're not going to collect a whole bunch of records. You're just going to add the people. So now you'll notice that I'm actually in, well, you can't see it here, but I'm actually in the person in my in common with tree rather than in the tree I'm copying. So we're going to go back a couple of screens, and we'll go back one more, and back one more, and then we're back at the DNA matches tree that I am copying. But let's go look at what's happened with our in common with tree. So here we are at the in common with tree, and it looks very much like where we left it, but this time we're going to type in, and you'll see Robert Harvey Thompson is there. So we click on that, and now it's brought in all the information that we were able to copy from that DNA matches tree. So it's also starting to give you some hints. Now, this is where you do have to be cautious. You can just accept the hints, but in this case, in my family, John Robert Thompson will show up as a suggestion as the parent of Harold, but he is in fact his stepfather. So that's where you can get stuck and caught, because you're going to end up copying that part of the tree and then it will be incorrect. But by doing this process, you can add people fairly quickly. So let's try getting some information about the DNA matches, or, in my case, the other tree, and see what we can gather for the other side of the family. So here we're back at my pretend DNA matches tree. I'm going to click on the mother, and it's the same process. And we're going to go to the tools, save to the tree, and because we added the wife already, she's already there. So then it's an easy to copy over all the information. So same thing, she's already got all of her information, but we're going to add the father and the mother and so on. Once we save it, it's now in the in common with tree. So we want to do that same process again, where we're backing out of the information and going back to the tree view of the DNA matches tree. And so you would go through the process over and over, but once you sort of get those main people on, then I could go, because we already added Harold and we added Mabel, so then you could go into Mabel and add her parents and so on. So you can build a tree pretty quick. Once you've done all that, then really all you have to do is add the matches information. So let's go over to the in common with tree and add that DNA match in. So here we are at the in common with tree, and if we give it a little refresh, especially when we look at, now we can't see, but you can see now that Eleanor has her parents added, and if we had continued to add all those people, they would all be there. So what we're going to do now is set up a child, or the DNA match, as the one final step in putting this person in the tree. So I've disabled my blurring tool, and that's actually a Chrome extension that was created by a friend of mine who lives in Ontario, and it's called the DNA blurring tool. So, or I believe, let me just check. It's called the genealogy blurring tool. And so then when you're sharing things and you might not want to get all your information on the screen, you can blur out the things that are important. So if we were going to add a DNA match to this tree, because that's the only, say if we had expanded it out as far as it could go and we want to add the DNA match, we're going to say we're going to add a child, and then we're just going to make up a name that it's supposed to be their child, and it's our DNA match. So we're going to put, how I usually put it is username. So whatever their username is, so if it was Annie M, and then I put DNA as kind of a middle name, but it helps when you're doing searches. Then you can easily find all the DNA matches that you've added to your tree. So then in the suffix, I put the amount of DNA that I might share with that person. So if it was 50 centimorgans, then I would just put 50 cm, and then we just save it. And then now, and then we pick so female, pick a gender, and we save it. So now if we go here, now we can see the DNA match's entire family tree. So if you ever were searching for somebody and you didn't remember, oh, what was that DNA matches tree or name, I can put DNA and it automatically comes up. It doesn't affect, to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't affect any of the algorithms. I've never had any problems with how it worked. And it just is a way of searching out all your DNA matches as you add a whole bunch. So now we're going to just do what we do. We're genealogists, and so we're just going to expand the tree. And if they are your DNA match, depending on how close a match they are, so keep in mind that the bigger the number, the closer the match, or the closer in your family tree that it will be. But you might have to go quite a few generations out to get to the point where you connect. Even though we may not know exactly where we connect with our matches, we get an idea because when we look at our match list, it says the relationship that Ancestry or MyHeritage thinks that it would be. You can expand on those matches and see the actual percentages if you look on a DNA match. So I've put my blur tool back on, and now we're looking at some of my matches that are at 50 centimorgan level. So you can see match 14, 15, 16, and even 17 are all 50 centimorgan matches. And you'll see that in one case it says a half second cousin twice removed, or a third cousin. Here it says a third cousin once removed, or a half second cousin twice removed, and then also a half third cousin or third cousin once removed. So there's a lot of variations. So if you click on the hyperlink, it actually gives you more predicted relationships. And then if you look at the frequency of the relationship, you'll also see the percentages that it's giving for each of those types of relationships. We can get the same information if we go over to DNA Painter, and let's go there for a second. So here we are at DNA Painter. It's one of my favorite sites. If we go to the Shared Centimorgan Tool button, this is a free part of the site, so you can use quite a bit of the DNA Painter without a subscription, but the subscription are well worth the money that you pay for. So if we click on the Shared Centimorgan project, this was created by Blaine Bettinger, and he created the chart and he gathered all the information. So you'll see here, it shows you that a great-grandparent would share anywhere from 485 centimorgans to 1,486 centimorgans with an average of 887. But you can, once you start getting down into these relationships, you see that sometimes like 122, it falls into this range as well. So there's a lot of possibilities. But let's look at the interactive part of the Shared Centimorgan project, and that's what Johnny Pearl has done on DNA Painter. So if we took that same 50 centimorgan number and we put it in, then it starts giving us the information about the possible relationships and again the percentages. So you can see 30%, half third cousin once removed, similar to what we saw at Ancestry, but it's just another way of looking at it. And you'll also see that, well, there's 30% chance that it's these relationships. There's a 24% chance that there are these relationships, which are, and then we have 22% that are these relationships. So a lot of these are very similar. And so it might be a fair amount of work to figure out where you might connect. So that's, up to you. You can build out the tree, but this is the tools that I used when I was working on my beaten batten mystery. So it's up to you how much you want to work on a DNA mystery match. In my case of the beaten batten mystery, I checked all of my matches, no matter how kind of small that really was, I would say that I probably went down to 15 centimorgans. So that's when you need to look at, when you're looking at that match, that initial first match, you want to look at the people you have in common with that match, who you share. And so in this case, I'm looking at one of the people that is from the Beaten Bat Mystery. He's 51 centimorgans, or she, and they do have a tree, and I expanded on that. But you want to then go to the shared matches. And of course, because I've tested so many people in my family, it goes to all of them. So we'll slide down past them. And then you start seeing the other matches that are a part of the same mystery. So you can see here, I have match 14. They have no tree. I have match 15. They have a 5-person tree. I have match 16. They have a locked tree. And match 17, 5 people. So you get the idea that sometimes it's difficult. Then there's an unlinked tree. I always go and look at the unlinked trees because sometimes there's a lot of information. They can be very large, but they just haven't linked it to their DNA. And now, whether it's the tree of the person that you're matching, that remains to be seen. Now, here's a good one. It's 64 people in that tree. This match is 26 centimorgans. But by looking at their tree, I might find in common with them, what's in common with them and the match that I've already built the tree out for, and I might find some common surnames, and then I know that's likely where this match number 20 matches the person that's part of my Beaten Bat Mystery, or your mystery, whatever it may be. And it might give you a better idea of how you might connect. One thing else I want to point out is that I have the additional Pro Tools on my subscription. So I pay an additional cost to get the Pro Tools. And one of the advantages of Pro Tools is that I see that in this column, this is how I connect to match number 19 and match number 20. I share 31 centimorgans and 26 centimorgans. But I also see how much the match that we're looking at and seeing the people that are in common, how much they share with match number 19. So in their case, they share 261 centimorgans with match 19 and 140 centimorgans with match 20. So, and another feature that they have just added to the Pro Tools is that you can actually sort them by your matches sort list. So that could be super helpful when you're looking at, your matches. So if I go here to the sort and I change it to sort it by them, then you see that their top match is this match. In this case, match number 1 is a 288 centimorgan person for the match, but it's a 33 centimorgan match for myself. Or the next one is 261 centimorgans for the match, with 31 only being how much I share with match number 2. So it can be very helpful. I had a case just the other day where the match that I was looking at didn't have a tree, but then when I looked at the people we had in common, I found that his grandson had DNA tested as well, because I could see that he was a grandson, and he had a very large tree, and so I knew exactly how everybody fit in that tree. So looking at the shared matches of the match that you're interested in, even if they don't have a tree, now you can look at the people you have in common with that match, and much more easily figure out how you connect. So when I think about mystery matches, I think that to me, there's like 2 types of mystery matches. So there's the mystery match that if you build out your tree enough and you have a robust enough tree of your own, you can figure out how they connect in your tree. And that to me a lot of times is relatively easy. What's hard is when you have a situation where you don't know who you should connect to, or how you would connect, because you have a mystery in the family. So for instance, in the Beaten Batten mystery case, my great-grandfather, he was adopted. So we don't know who his parents are. So we don't know, what name are we looking for? We don't know that. So we have to build out all the matches trees and connect all those matches to each other to start understanding how we might fit in that tree. So I promised you that I'd show you how you could make your MyHeritage in common with tree private. And for that matter, you can make any tree private this way. So first we're going to go to my profile, and then we're going to go into the privacy setting. Next, we'll be at the setting page, and then if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see I have a couple of trees, and you can then go to the content. That will take you to this screen. If you check either of these boxes, if you check these boxes, then your tree will be visible to other members. So you don't want to do that. And then, of course, after you're done, you want to save. Now let's go back to that first setting page, and you'll see that we can then also go to Access. If we go to Access, you'll see Allow Guests to find my site and Allow Guests to request memberships to my site. In both of those cases, you don't want to check off that box, because otherwise your tree will be visible. And then, of course, you're going to save. And that's how you do MyHeritage. Sometimes it takes a long time. I've been working on the Beaten Batten mystery for a very long time. That's partly because when I first started, there wasn't very many matches, and there certainly weren't the tools that we have now. And it's getting easier and easier to figure these things out. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I hope you will like the video. And also, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and ring that bell so you are notified of future videos as I add them. And happy hunting!